Armin Zuffer was only 32, but the world already called him a self-made millionaire. Sharp-minded, charming, and dangerously confident, he had built his empire from nothing but grit, risk, and a refusal to bend to anyone's will. Yet tonight, in the grand ballroom of the Zuffer estate, with crystal chandeliers glowing above and champagne glasses clinking around him, he stood frozen. Because just as he raised his glass to toast his engagement, a voice cut through the laughter, a soft, trembling whisper from behind him. "Wait, don't drink it." The words were quiet, but they pierced him like steel. His hand stiffened, his heart skipped. He turned, but in that moment, his mind spun with questions. Who had whispered? Why the warning? And most importantly, was his fiancée, the beautiful and mysterious Nayla, hiding something dark enough to shatter everything? Would he trust the whisper or the woman he loved? Was his life about to end tonight, or was it only his peace of mind? And if it was true, what secret had Nayla guarded so carefully, even from him? The sunlight streamed through the massive arched windows earlier that morning, bathing the marble floors of the Zuffer mansion in a golden glow. The estate was alive with the sounds of workers preparing for the engagement party of the year. Dozens of chefs bustled in the kitchens, their voices rising over the hiss of pans. Gardeners clipped roses to perfection. Maids polished glass and silver until they shone like mirrors. Armin's life had never looked brighter. "Sir, the guest list has been confirmed. The mayor, half the business elite, and even foreign dignitaries are attending," said Jamal, his lifelong butler, placing a silver tray of documents before him. Armin smiled faintly as he adjusted his cufflinks, his reflection sharp in the tall mirror. Good. Let them all see what happens when Armin Zuffer sets his heart on something. What he didn't say was this: his heart wasn't fully at peace. Nayla was stunning, too stunning, some whispered. Her beauty was the kind that turned heads, silenced conversations, and made men forget their vows. Long dark hair that seemed to flow like silk, eyes lined with secrets, and a voice so soft it could melt anger into desire. She had entered Armin's life only a year ago, suddenly, and without explanation, at a charity gala in Karachi. She had spoken little of her past, only enough to paint herself as a tragic but resilient woman who had suffered losses yet survived. Armin had admired that. He believed her mystery was elegance, not a mask. But now, as the hours ticked toward their engagement, whispers spread in corners he could not reach. "Do you really know who she is?" his cousin Rayhan had asked him quietly one evening. "A woman who hides her family, her history, her everything, can she be trusted?" Armin had brushed him off then, but the words dug deep. Tonight, they felt heavier than ever. By evening, the mansion glittered with light. Cars rolled up the long driveway, their engines purring like lions. Guests in gowns and tuxedos stepped out, laughter floating into the night. The air was heavy with the scent of roses and jasmine, mingling with the distant hum of violins. Armin stood at the center of it all, tall and composed, his black suit sharp, his presence commanding. By his side stood Nayla, wrapped in a crimson gown that clung to her like flame. Her smile was dazzling, her hand warm on his arm. "Armin," she whispered, leaning close, "tonight is ours." He nodded, though somewhere inside, unease stirred. As the night deepened, speeches were made, glasses raised, cameras flashed. Then came the moment, the toast. Armin lifted his champagne glass high, his voice strong. To love, to loyalty, and to a future built on trust. Gasps of admiration rose from the crowd. Cameras turned. All eyes were on him. But then. "Wait, don't drink it." The whisper reached his ear. A woman's voice. Urgent. His fingers tightened around the glass. Time slowed. He turned, but the crowd blurred together in laughter and chatter. Only one figure seemed out of place, a young maid, her face pale, her lips trembling, standing half hidden by the curtains. Their eyes met for a fleeting second before she vanished into the shadows. Armin's chest pounded. His gaze darted to Nayla. She was watching him closely, her smile calm, too calm. "Something wrong, love?" she asked sweetly. Armin forced a smile, lowering the glass instead of sipping. "Nothing at all." But his mind screamed otherwise. Later, when the music swelled and guests danced, Armin slipped away. He searched the halls, the gardens, the service corridors, but the maid was gone. Instead, he found Jamal waiting in the dimly lit study. "Sir, may I speak openly?" Jamal asked. "You always may." The old butler hesitated. "This woman, Nayla, there are things I have seen. Things I have not spoken of, fearing your anger. But tonight, I must. Sir, her past is not what she claims. I fear for you." Armin's jaw clenched. "Explain." But before Jamal could, the door creaked open. Nayla stepped inside, her crimson gown a shadow against the golden lamplight. "Armin," she said softly, her voice carrying both affection and warning. "Why are you hiding here? Your guests are asking for you." Jamal's eyes flicked with urgency, silently pleading with Armin to be cautious. Armin stood between them, torn by a storm of doubt and desire. The night was thick with music and laughter, yet Armin Zuffer felt none of it. The ballroom sparkled, chandeliers glittered, and guests swayed to the violin's rhythm, but inside him, a storm was raging. Nayla stood only a few steps away, radiant in her crimson gown, her smile a weapon that held the crowd captive. She laughed, clinked glasses, and whispered sweet nothings into the ears of curious socialites. To everyone, she was perfection. But to Armin, her perfection had just cracked. His hands still trembled from the whispered warning. He had not drunk the champagne, though everyone thought he had. The golden liquid still clung to the edge of his glass, untouched, like a secret waiting to spill. And Jamal's words haunted him, "Her past is not what she claims." Armin excused himself once more, slipping away from the main hall into the quieter corridors of the mansion. His polished shoes echoed on the marble, the distant music fading. He searched, his mind fixed on the maid who had whispered. Finally, near the servants' quarters, he heard soft sobs. He pushed open the door, and there she was. The maid. Barely 20, with frightened eyes and trembling hands. Her uniform was simple, her face streaked with tears. She flinched as he entered, as though even his presence carried danger. "Why did you stop me?" Armin asked sharply, his voice low, controlled. "Why did you whisper not to drink it?" The girl shook her head violently, her lips pressed tight. "Please, sir, I should not have spoken. If she finds out." Armin stepped closer, his gaze intense. "If who finds out?" "Nayla?" The maid's tears spilled faster. "She is not what you think, sir. You must not marry her." The words stabbed at him. His throat tightened, but he kept his composure. "Speak clearly. What do you know?" The maid's voice dropped to a whisper, each word trembling. "She was married before, sir. To a man of wealth and power. He died, suddenly. They said it was an accident. But I know it wasn't." Armin's eyes widened. "Are you saying she?" "Yes." The maid covered her mouth, horrified by her own courage. "She poisoned him. Just like tonight." The room spun. Armin gripped the table for balance, rage and disbelief crashing together. His mind screamed that it was impossible. Nayla, the woman who held his heart, a killer? No. And yet, why had the maid risked her life to warn him? Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the corridor. The maid froze in terror. Armin turned just as the door opened. Nayla. Her presence filled the room like fire swallowing air. She stood in the doorway, her gaze fixed on the maid, then on Armin. Her smile was gone. "What is going on here?" Her voice was calm, but beneath it lay steel. The maid trembled, her knees buckling. Armin's chest tightened. He knew if he faltered now, the truth would slip through his fingers forever. "Nayla," he said, forcing his voice steady, "I was asking her about the champagne." Nayla's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "And what could she possibly know about it?" The maid stammered, her voice breaking. "And nothing, madam. Forgive me." Nayla stepped closer, her eyes never leaving the girl. "Run along, then. There's work to be done." The maid bolted from the room, her footsteps fading down the hall. Silence followed. Now it was only Armin and Nayla, standing in the dim light, the tension thick enough to choke. Armin, Nayla whispered, her tone soft again, almost pleading. Why are you letting shadows cloud our night? Do you not trust me? Armin studied her face, the perfect curve of her smile, the calm steadiness of her eyes. A woman who could lie without blinking. Or perhaps, a woman wrongly accused. I trust you, he said carefully, though his heart twisted with doubt. But people speak things. Strange things. Nayla reached for his hand, pressing her warm fingers against his. People envy us, Armin. They envy you. They would poison your mind with lies because they cannot poison your success. Promise me you won't listen to them. Her voice was silk. Her touch, fire. For a moment, he almost believed. Almost. But the maid's trembling voice echoed in his ears, she poisoned him. Just like tonight. The celebration continued into the late night. Guests laughed, danced, and toasted. Nayla never left Armin's side, as though to guard him from suspicion or perhaps to guard herself from discovery. But Armin's eyes were elsewhere, always searching the crowd, looking for the maid again. She never appeared. Instead, Jamal approached discreetly, his face pale. Sir, he whispered, I have made inquiries. There are records, troubling records. Would you like me to show you? Armin's heart skipped. He nodded. Later, when most guests had gone, Jamal led him to the study. He placed a thin envelope on the desk. Inside, photographs, documents, newspaper clippings. The headline burned into Armin's eyes. Business tycoon Amir Rahman dies suddenly, wife inherits fortune. A picture followed. Nayla, younger, in black attire, her face lowered in false grief. Armin's chest tightened. His hands shook as he read the report, death by sudden illness, no autopsy, fortune transferred to the widow. Sir, Jamal whispered, this was her husband. She vanished soon after. Months later, she appeared here. Do you still think it coincidence? Armin dropped the papers, his mind spinning. But before he could answer, the door creaked again. Nayla stood there. Her eyes fell on the envelope, the scattered photographs. For the first time, her mask slipped. Not anger. Not denial. But something far colder, awareness. You've been busy, haven't you, Armin, she said softly, stepping inside, closing the door behind her. The lock clicked. Armin's pulse raced. Jamal's throat went dry. And Nayla's smile returned, dark, unshakable, dangerous. Was she about to confess? Or would she silence him like she had, perhaps, silenced the man before him? Armin's hand brushed against the desk, searching for something, anything, to defend himself. But Nayla only tilted her head and whispered. You should be careful whom you trust in this house, Armin. Not every servant is loyal to you. Her eyes glinted. Was she speaking of the maid? Did she know already? The tension snapped like glass ready to shatter. Armin realized the truth, whether innocent or guilty, Nayla was playing a game far deadlier than he had ever imagined. And tonight, the game had just begun. The study felt smaller than ever. The heavy curtains were drawn, the single lamp threw long shadows across the walls, and the silence was thick enough to crush. Armin stood by the desk, his pulse hammering, while Jamal shifted nervously at his side. Across the room, Nayla leaned against the door she had just locked, her crimson gown glowing faintly in the dim light. Her eyes glimmered like a predator's in the dark. Armin, she said softly, her voice like velvet draped over steel. I thought tonight was about love. About us. And here you are, digging through graves. Armin swallowed hard. You never told me. What should I have told you, she asked, tilting her head. That I once wore black for a man whose name the world has already forgotten? That his death became my freedom? Would that have satisfied your curiosity? Jamal bristled. You admit it then. You. Quiet. The single word from Nayla silenced him. Her eyes never left Armin. Tell me, my love, she whispered, taking a step closer. Do you really believe I poisoned Amir Rahman? Or do you only believe what scared little servants whisper in your ear? Arman's chest tightened. The maid's trembling voice echoed in his memory, but so did the warmth of Nayla's laughter, the gentleness in her touch, the nights they had shared. I want the truth, he said, his voice low but steady. Tell me what happened. Nayla smiled faintly, but it wasn't the smile he knew. This one was sharper, colder, and yet frighteningly beautiful. The truth, she murmured, circling slowly around the desk toward him. The truth is, men like him deserve what comes to them. And men like you should be very careful how much truth they seek. Arman froze. The words weren't confession, but neither were they denial. They hung in the air like smoke, impossible to grasp. Jamal stepped forward, his voice shaking with urgency. Sir, you cannot allow this woman to stay another night here. She is dangerous. Dangerous? Nayla repeated softly, turning her gaze on him. You think I am dangerous, old man? Her tone was calm, but Jamal staggered back as if struck. I serve my master's safety. Then serve him wisely, she cut in. Because if you make enemies of me, you will not survive long enough to regret it. Arman's hand clenched into a fist. He had seen many powerful men break under boardroom pressure, but never had he seen someone wield such control with nothing but a voice. Nayla wasn't shouting, wasn't pleading, she was weaving a net. And he, against his will, was caught. The party outside continued. Laughter echoed faintly through the walls, glasses clinked, music swelled. Yet inside the study, it felt as if the world had stopped. Leave us, Jamal, Arman said suddenly, his voice firmer than he felt. Jamal's eyes widened. Sir, no. Now. Jamal hesitated, but the look in Arman's eyes forced him. He bowed slightly, his jaw tight, and left the room. The door shut. Arman and Nayla were alone. Nayla approached slowly, her gown brushing against the floor, her perfume thick in the air. She stopped just before him, close enough that he could feel her warmth. You doubt me, she whispered, her hand rising to touch his face. But you also desire me. And that, my love, is why you will never leave me. Arman's breath caught. Her fingers traced his jaw, her eyes shimmering with both tenderness and menace. Tell me, she whispered, her lips inches from his ear. Do you think I would hurt you? He wanted to say yes. He wanted to push her away, to demand answers, to protect himself. But something inside him, something irrational, dangerous, kept him rooted. Her voice was a spell. Her touch, chains. Suddenly, she stepped back, her expression shifting. Very well, she said, almost lightly. If you truly fear me, then end it. Break this engagement. Cast me out before your guests. Destroy me with their judgment. Her words struck him like a slap. End it? In front of the world? The Zuffer family name was tied to this union already. The city's elite were watching. The press, the investors, the politicians, all waiting for tomorrow's headlines. If he broke it now, everything he had built could unravel in scandal. She knew that. And she was daring him. Arman stared at her, fury rising in his chest. You've cornered me. No, she replied gently. I've given you a choice. Her eyes gleamed. Do you choose to believe me, or to believe them? Silence thickened the air. Arman's mind battled itself, logic against desire, fear against pride. The documents, the whispers, the maid's trembling warning, they screamed one truth. But the woman before him, radiant and terrifying, offered another. Which was the lie? A knock suddenly rattled the door. Both turned sharply. Sir! Jamal's urgent voice broke through. The maid, the girl who warned you, she has disappeared. No one can find her. Arman's blood turned cold. He glanced at Nayla. Her lips curved into a faint smile. Almost as if she had expected this. Almost as if she had made it happen. The ballroom glittered late into the night, but for Arman Zuffer, the light had gone out long ago. Guests clapped and cheered, couples swirled across the polished floor, and laughter filled the grand estate. Yet behind Armin's steady smile lay a storm no one else could see. Nayla danced gracefully among the guests, her laughter ringing like silver bells. To them, she was flawless beauty wrapped in elegance, mystery crowned in charm. To Armin, she was something far more dangerous. And the maid's disappearance hung over him like a ghost. When the last guests left and the chandeliers dimmed, the estate grew quiet. Only the sound of night insects drifted through the open windows. Armin stood on the balcony of his study, staring into the garden, his mind a battlefield. He had the documents Jamal uncovered. He had the maid's whispered warning. And now, the maid was gone, swallowed by shadows. Was it coincidence? Or was Nayla already cleaning up loose ends? Armin's jaw clenched. He had built his empire on one principle: never ignore danger until it devours you. And this was danger. Sir. Jamal's voice broke his thoughts. The old butler stepped into the study, his face grim. The girl did not simply disappear. I questioned the other staff. 2 men in black suits were seen escorting her out the back gate. She was crying, but they silenced her. Armin's blood chilled. And you didn't stop them? I tried, Jamal whispered, shame heavy in his tone. But they carried the seal of authority. Not yours, sir, hers. Nayla. Armin gripped the railing so tightly his knuckles turned white. She knows, he muttered. She knows I doubt her. The next morning, the estate buzzed again, but beneath the noise lay tension. Servants avoided Armin's eyes. Nayla moved through the halls like a queen, her beauty untouchable, her voice sweet as ever. Yet every smile felt like a blade hidden in silk. At breakfast, she poured tea for him herself, her hands steady. You didn't sleep, she said softly, her eyes watching him. Is something troubling you? Armin forced a faint smile. Only business. Her lips curved knowingly. Business never ends for you, does it? She handed him the cup. He held it but did not drink. Her gaze lingered. Something flickered in her eyes, too brief to catch, but enough to twist his stomach. Later, when she left the estate with her driver, Armin acted. Jamal, he said sharply, prepare the car. We're going to Karachi. Quietly. Within the hour, they were on the road, the city skyline rising in the distance. Armin's heart pounded with determination. If Nayla's past held answers, he would find them. Their first stop was the old Rahman estate, abandoned since the tycoon's death. The mansion loomed like a carcass, its windows dark, its gates rusted. Dust clung to every surface inside, but fragments of wealth remained: ornate furniture, portraits, faded carpets. In the study, Armin found the photograph. Nayla and Amir Rahman, standing side by side. She was younger, but the same haunting beauty glowed in her eyes. Amir looked strong, proud, yet his arm around her seemed almost possessive. Jamal sifted through old newspapers stacked in a corner. Sir, look at this. Another clipping: Rahman Company scandal, rumors of embezzlement and betrayal. Armin scanned the text. The tycoon had enemies, rivals, debts of trust. He had been powerful, but not beloved. Maybe someone else killed him, Armin muttered. Or maybe she did, Jamal whispered. And used those enemies as her cover. The deeper they searched, the darker the shadows grew. Neighbors whispered of strange nights, arguments echoing, servants dismissed suddenly, doctors arriving in secrecy. And one name kept surfacing: Dr. Samir Qureshi, the physician who had signed the death certificate. We must find him, Armin decided. By evening, they tracked the doctor to a small clinic on the city's edge. The place smelled of antiseptic and exhaustion. An older man emerged from the back, his shoulders heavy, his eyes tired. Mr. Zuffer, he asked cautiously when Armin introduced himself. Yes. I need to ask about a patient of yours. Amir Rahman. The doctor stiffened. That was years ago. Why dig into it now? Because I am about to marry his widow, Armin said firmly. The doctor's expression darkened. He hesitated, then closed the door to the clinic and locked it. Then you deserve to know, he said grimly. They sat in his cramped office. The doctor's voice lowered. Amir Rahman did not die of natural causes. I wrote the certificate under pressure. The truth, his blood was poisoned. Slow, deliberate. It mimicked illness, but it was no illness. Arman's breath stopped. Jamal's hands shook. Poison, Arman whispered. The doctor nodded. I tried to resist, but they threatened me. She came herself, Nayla. She looked me in the eyes and told me what to write. I did it. To survive. Arman's mind reeled. Every suspicion, every whisper, every fear, confirmed. Nayla had killed before. And he was next. But before Arman could ask more, the sound of a car screeched outside. Headlights flooded the clinic windows. Jamal rushed to the blinds and peered through. His face drained of color. Sir, it's her driver. He's here. Arman's chest pounded. Had Nayla followed them? Did she already know he had unearthed the truth? The doctor's hand trembled as he whispered, You must leave. Now. Before she finds you here. Arman stood, his heart racing. For the first time in his life, the empire he had built meant nothing. All the wealth, the power, the prestige, none of it could shield him from the woman he had invited into his life. As the sound of footsteps approached the clinic door, Arman realized his greatest mistake. He had fallen in love with his executioner. And she was closer than ever. The clinic door rattled violently. The sound of heavy footsteps and muffled voices filled the silence. Arman's chest pounded as Jamal pulled him toward the back door, but Dr. Qureshi shook his head, his face pale with terror. They will see you escape, the doctor whispered. She has eyes everywhere. If she knows you are here, none of us will live. The door handle twisted. Arman's mind raced. He had built companies through strategy, crushed rivals through clever timing, but this was no boardroom battle. This was survival. Hide, the doctor hissed, pointing to a narrow storage room. Reluctantly, Arman and Jamal slipped inside. The door clicked shut just as the clinic door swung open. From the sliver of light beneath the crack, Arman saw the shadows of men enter. Boots thudded against the floor. A familiar voice followed. Smooth. Calm. Dangerous. Nayla. Doctor, her voice coiled through the room like smoke. How good to see you again. Dr. Qureshi stammered. Madam Nayla. I wasn't expecting. Weren't expecting me, she repeated softly, her heels clicking closer. And yet, I hear whispers. Whispers that my name is being spoken where it should not. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, doctor? The storage room was suffocating. Arman's fists clenched. Through the narrow crack, he saw her shadow pass. Even in darkness, she radiated command. The doctor's voice shook. And no, madam. I swear I've told no one. Nayla's laugh was soft, almost pitying. Good. Because you know what happens to those who betray me. The silence that followed was heavier than stone. Then, her voice again, come. We won't trouble the good doctor further tonight. The men's footsteps retreated. The door closed. Silence. Arman pushed the storage door open, his breath ragged. Dr. Qureshi collapsed into a chair, sweat streaming down his face. You see, the doctor whispered hoarsely. She controls everything. No matter where you run, she will find you. Arman's jaw tightened. Not if I stop her first. Back at the Zuffer estate that night, tension burned through the marble halls like wildfire. Nayla had returned already, her crimson gown replaced by a midnight black dress that shimmered like water under the chandeliers. She sat in the lounge, sipping wine, her posture relaxed, as if she had not just stalked a man into silence. When Arman entered, she looked up, her smile smooth as silk. There you are, she said softly. I was beginning to worry. Arman forced calm. Were you? She set her glass down. Of course. A bride worries for her groom. Especially when he sneaks off into the night without a word. Her eyes locked on his. He felt her probing, testing, trying to read what he knew. I had business, he lied. Business, she repeated, her lips curving. How convenient. Silence stretched between them. Then Nayla stood, gliding toward him. Her perfume enveloped him, her hand reaching for his chest. Armin, she whispered, her eyes searching his, why do you look at me as if I am a stranger? His heart thundered. He wanted to accuse her, to spit the truth in her face. You poisoned him. You silenced the maid. You followed me tonight. But the words stuck. Because a part of him, the part still bound by desire, still chained by her beauty, hesitated. You've been through so much, she continued softly, her head resting against his shoulder. And now you think the world is against you. But I am the only one who truly loves you. Her voice was a trap. And he felt himself falling. That night, he could not sleep. He paced the halls, replaying every word, every glance, every smile. Jamal found him near dawn, his face pale with worry. Sir, we cannot delay, Jamal urged. She knows what you know. She will not stop until you are silenced, too. Armin's eyes burned with exhaustion. Then I will strike first. The following evening, Armin confronted her in the grand dining hall. The table was set for two. Candles flickered. Crystal glasses sparkled. Nayla entered gracefully, her black dress flowing like shadow. She took her seat, her eyes on him. You've been restless, she said softly. Shall we talk tonight, honestly? Armin leaned forward. Yes. Let's talk. He slid a folder across the table. Inside are copies of the documents, the clippings, the doctor's testimony written in his own hand. Nayla opened it. She read silently, her expression unreadable. Then, she laughed. Not loudly. Not cruelly. But with soft amusement, as though he had shown her a child's trick. Armin, she whispered, closing the folder, is this your proof? A frightened old man's trembling words? Yellowed papers from jealous rivals? This is what you stake your love on. Her calm unnerved him more than denial. Stop pretending, he snapped. I know you killed him. And I know you tried to kill me. The room froze in silence. Nayla's eyes locked on his. Her smile faded. Finally, she whispered, and if I did? Armin's breath caught. Her words were neither confession nor denial. They were something far worse, acceptance. Why, Nayla, he demanded, his voice breaking. Why play this game with me? She stood slowly, stepping toward him, her eyes glimmering with a strange mix of sorrow and steel. Because, Armin, she whispered, men like you never see the knife until it's already inside them. His blood ran cold. Jamal burst into the room, his face ashen. Sir, come quickly. It's the maid. They've found her body near the river. Armin staggered. His heart crashed. The warning whisper that had saved his life, the girl who had risked everything for him, was gone. He turned back to Nayla, his eyes blazing with fury. But Nayla only smiled faintly, lifting her glass of wine. To us, she whispered. Had she just declared war? Or was this her final victory, silencing every voice but his? Armin realized, with a shudder, that part one of her deadly game was over. And part two had just begun. Armin Zuffer had faced business rivals, financial storms, and lawsuits that could have broken empires. But nothing had prepared him for the quiet war across the dining table. Nayla sat with her glass of wine, poised and calm, as if the maid's death had been nothing more than a necessary step. Armin's chest ached with rage. His mind screamed for justice, for vengeance, for truth. But one wrong move, one misstep, and her shadowy network would swallow him whole. He stared at her and whispered, "You killed her." Nayla tilted her head, her dark hair falling gracefully over one shoulder. She was weak. Weakness does not survive in my world. Her words struck like a blade. Jamal tugged at Armin's sleeve, whispering fiercely, "Sir, we must leave. We can call the police, expose her." But Armin shook his head. He knew better. The police? Bought. The media? Controlled. Her power stretched too far. If he moved recklessly, they'd all vanish without a trace. No. To defeat Nayla, he would need her own weapon, deception. The next morning, Armin hosted a press conference at his mansion. Cameras flashed. Journalists filled the hall. His announcement was shocking. In 3 days, Armin declared, "I will marry Nayla." The crowd erupted in applause. Rumors flew across the city. The broken engagement was back on, stronger than ever. Nayla watched from the side, her lips curving faintly. Her eyes told him, "Clever. You've chosen survival." But in Armin's heart, he was plotting his final move. That night, Armin prepared 2 letters. One for the authorities, one for the press. Inside, every piece of evidence against Nayla. If anything happened to him, the letters would be delivered automatically. It was a gamble. But the only way to expose a predator was to let her think she had already won. The wedding day arrived. The estate glowed with golden lights, the air heavy with jasmine. Guests in glittering clothes filled the grand courtyard. Laughter and music floated under the stars. Nayla appeared like a vision in a blood-red bridal dress, her beauty breathtaking, her smile unreadable. When she reached Armin, she leaned close and whispered, "You're trembling. Is it fear or desire?" Armin's throat tightened. He forced a smile. Maybe both. The ceremony began. Words were spoken. Rings exchanged. Applause thundered. To the world, they were the perfect couple. But beneath the surface, 2 enemies circled, waiting for the final strike. At the reception, golden chandeliers glowed above the ballroom. Guests dined and danced. Armin sat beside Nayla, their glasses filled with champagne. Nayla lifted hers gracefully, her eyes glittering. "To our eternal bond," she whispered. Armin stared at the glass. His stomach twisted. Her smile deepened. "What's wrong, Armin? Don't you trust your bride?" His hand trembled. He remembered the maid's whisper, "Wait, don't drink it." Slowly, Armin lifted the glass to his lips. The crowd cheered. Cameras flashed. He swallowed. Silence echoed in his soul. Hours passed. Armin danced, laughed, mingled. Nothing happened. He was alive. But then Nayla leaned close, her voice soft as silk. "Do you feel it yet?" His chest tightened. His vision blurred. The chandelier lights swirled. He staggered. Guests gasped. Jamal rushed forward, catching him as he fell. "Sir!" "Armin!" Armin's heart pounded painfully. His throat burned. Through the haze, he saw Nayla watching him calmly. Her smile was small, almost tender. "You should have known," she whispered, crouching beside him. "You can't outplay me." But as she leaned closer, Armin's lips curved faintly. "You're wrong," he rasped. Confusion flickered in her eyes. Suddenly, the doors of the ballroom burst open. Dozens of reporters, cameras flashing, stormed inside. Police officers followed, their voices commanding. "Stand where you are." Nayla's eyes widened for the first time. Armin, still weak, pulled a small microphone from under his jacket. His voice echoed through the ballroom speakers. "Ladies and gentlemen, everything you have seen tonight has been a performance. A performance to lure out the truth. My bride is no victim of rumor. She is a murderer. And I have proof." Gasps filled the hall. Reporters rushed forward. Police surrounded Nayla. Her mask cracked. For a second, her beauty was stripped bare, revealing the fury beneath. "You think this will stop me?" she hissed, her voice shaking with venom. Even if you bury me, my shadow will remain. The officers grabbed her arms. She struggled, but for the first time, she was not in control. Armand's chest heaved as he forced himself to stand. His voice broke, but it carried through the hall. Evil always believes it cannot be defeated. But in the end, truth burns brighter than any shadow. The crowd erupted. Nayla was dragged away, her laughter echoing like a curse. And Armand collapsed into Jamal's arms, tears burning his eyes. The maid's sacrifice. Dr. Qureshi's warning. His own gamble. All had led to this moment. He had survived. But the scars, emotional, invisible, would remain forever. Epilogue. Months later, Armand sat quietly in his study, staring out at the sunrise. The world hailed him as a hero. Business thrived. The Zuffer name was stronger than ever. But in his heart, he carried the memory of those who had suffered for the truth. He whispered softly, "May the shadows never return." And as light poured through the windows, he finally let himself breathe. Love without trust is poison. Power without conscience is destruction. And no matter how deep the darkness hides, truth always finds its way to the light.